I run away, I think I'll go back to that place I stay. Play on the server the TimeShot way. Hello people, it's Poet, and welcome to TimeShot. Just at Jake's house because I wanted to show off something that I worked on a few days ago. Was this. Actually, it was, I think, even yesterday, but I say a few days ago because I really never have a concept of time. But I did this. It's a pathway all the way to Jake's house. I hope he appreciates it. I thought that this scary forest between Jake's house and spawn has always been kind of an issue. I don't know what you might nickname this pathway, maybe like Creeper Way or Creeper Forest or something, but it's basically filled with creeper holes and zombie infestations. Fabe actually built this awesome bridge over top of the lava pit, which looks really good. Kind of finishes the pathway because otherwise the bridge was out. It goes to here, keeps going around. Torch. Everywhere I see sort of a slightly dark spot, I'm going to put down a torch just to make it a little bit friendlier around the path. Right there. It's one thing for things to spawn in the forest, which you might expect, but another thing entirely for them to spawn right on your path. So this is looking pretty good so far. Anyway, this is the pathway. It comes around here. That's 2G1M's old house, the new haunted mansion. Comes around the haunted mansion this away, and then winds around and all the way to the road there. But these little things here are kind of confusing to people, I think. They don't need them there. How did a zombie... I guess it's lots of dark spots a zombie could spawn. I'm not going to mess with them, though. Let's go this way. Oh, look at all this darkness. What's with all this darkness here? Huh. Anyway, the path comes around here and then leads to the road. So that's kind of what I worked on. Didn't take me very long, actually. It only took me, I don't know, half hour or so. And that included getting the gravel needed. So that wasn't so bad. Look at all the mobs around here. Wow. Don't know what's with all the mobs. So, today I thought that I would just do maybe a little bit of building. Nothing too major. I don't really have too much to talk about. Just kind of one topic that I wanted to kind of chat about in game development field. But other than that, not really anything major, nothing controversial or anything like that today. Just kind of laid back. I've been doing a lot of laid back work on TimeShot, I think is a good way to put it, where I kind of use TimeShot as my way of unwinding, so to speak. It's kind of like if I've had a stressful day, if I've done a lot of work in other projects and things, I come to TimeShot after hours to just kind of just sit back and relax and do some work. So today's kind of one of those days, sort of, but I decided that I'm doing so much work off camera that I got to start doing some on camera. So for example, that right there that I'm going to show you in a bit. Now, I've put some vines along the inner walls, and I think that if they don't spread too much more than they have now, I know that they will spread infinitely downwards, but if it doesn't look that bad, it's looking pretty nice the way that it is. And I might actually put some leaves, oak leaves or something, just kind of as like extra vines and stuff, sort of like what we have in the Nether Hub, which I really like. What is this? Oh! I heard you wanted some of these. Yay! Oh, I did want some of those. How did you hear that? Oh, that's great. Oh, that is perfect. That's also part of a brilliant Christmas present. That is great. Ah, you have no idea how much that made my day. That was great. Okay, I can't stop saying it because it's just, I didn't know how I was ever going to get those wither skulls. I don't have a looting sword anymore because Wynn's borrowing mine. And even if I did, looting 3 does no justice to wither skulls. I mean, you gotta still grind for a long time to get them, and so that saves me so much time. I do want wither skulls because I want to spawn a wither, fight it, kill it, get the nether star, and finish the beacons. I need 3 more beacons to make it symmetrical in there, and fix everybody's OCD who watches these episodes. So that is what I will be working on, and that is 2 wither skulls goes a long way. It really does. Okay, so off camera, I worked on this a little bit. I had changed the logs. They were oak logs before. I've now changed them to spruce, kind of to match the house. And when I was building this, I really started to look up at that house and saw, okay, well, the details are in spruce, then the planks are in dark oak, and then the little trim is in oak. And so I kind of did the same idea, where do spruce and then oak trim underneath here, where it's supposed to give it a little bit of a wet look to it, which I hope that people can appreciate. That's dark oak underneath, all the way down. Just to give it a little bit of a color difference. It's very almost not noticeable unless you're looking right at it, but that's kind of the way that I wanted it. This is much more noticeable. That's cyan clay. Fabe gave me the idea to use cyan clay, and I really like the way that it looks, as opposed to just stone all the way down. So that looks really good, I think. And then the pathway, the docks, just kind of wraps around here and goes all the way to the end. Looks a lot better than when we had that giant pier up there. But I'm probably still going to have some kind of a pier or a spot for vendors and things like that. I'm just running back to my base now because I want to sleep and get this rain and nighttime away. It literally just stopped raining as it turned to daytime. And now as it's turning to nighttime, it's raining again. I don't know what's up with that in Minecraft, but man. So I realized in putting this inner wall here that it kind of cuts my way off, my shortcut up the hill to my house. I still do jump up here and then scale the thing. I mountain goat it. But I built this down. It's sort of similar to the original idea that I had. So you go this way, up, and then around. And I think that looks not so bad. Fits in with the overall design. And it's functional. So, let's sleep away the night and the rain. And what I'm going to do today in building is just kind of work on the coastal area, I think. You can only sleep at night. What? It is night. /time? No. Oh, /time query. Is that something we can do? What? What does query do then? I want to see what time it is. Because the sun was going down. Wasn't it? Was the sun just coming up? Now I'm so confused. Is it daytime or not? Okay. I wasn't really paying attention, I guess. Okay. So let's just get to work then. We can't really get this rain away. Might as well live with it. Yeah, it's definitely getting brighter out here, so it must have been nighttime. And I just missed my opportunity for getting this rain to go away. Okay. So, I'm going to run out of food fairly quickly, so I'm going to grab some potatoes that I know that I have cooking. Grab some apples. grab some potatoes. I know that there are some in here. There's some. Okay. And I also need cobblestone. So actually I should stay up there and get my inventory kind of organized. Get it all supplied up, geared up. And then we can start talking about that little minor thing that I had to talk about. It's not really a topic per se. It's just kind of something that I was thinking about. And it kind of goes hand in hand with another discussion that I had on this TimeShot channel before, where I talked about game development and stuff. Oh yeah, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing now. Okay. Went up here to get cobblestone. And fence I also need, I think. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about is the early access phase of things. I was actually kind of browsing around Steam, and, you know, the sale is coming out, if not like today, then tomorrow type of thing. It's like really soon. Gonna put those in there with my Sky Bridge Bob head. So the Steam sale is coming on soon, and that kind of made me look at a lot of the games that are on there, hoping to buy some that might be on sale, hoping to play some new ones on the channel and stuff like that. And it's kind of remarkable that so many games now, probably if 5 games were released, 4 of them would be early access games. And that's kind of what I wanted to chat about. It was just the early access games, general thoughts on it, which I know that I've done before, but this is kind of just an addition to what I had already spoken of, and maybe an update on my opinion. I don't know. Either way, I was looking at all these early access games. Some of them really good, some of them not so good. So, is an early access game really a good thing? It's obviously a big trend going on right now, that we all need early access to games and then give feedback, and they make modifications to the game and bug fixes, and instead of hiring a dozen beta testers to play through a game, you've basically instantly hired hundreds of thousands, if not even millions, of people to beta test your game. Famously, Minecraft being one of those early access games, kind of where, you know, in even pre-alpha, basically, people could download it and play around with it and test it out and do things like that. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Obviously, it's good in many ways. It allows, especially indie developers, because that's where 90% of those early access games come from, are indie developers. You know, game companies that don't have the millions and millions and millions of dollar budgets that are basically required these days to make a AAA title. These guys don't have the budgets to go ahead and hire all these beta testers and get it tested properly and things like that, and bug testers and so on. They instead opt to early access and then open up a bug data thing, and people submit their reports and so on. It works. It does. Where I find that I'm having a problem dealing with it is that, I don't know, there's something missing with it. There's something lost. There's something lost in the way that the games feel, in the way that the games play. There's just something that's not there. I was looking at one today, and it was a kind of a snowboard simulator type of thing. I think it's called Snow, and it was on Steam. And I was watching a video about it, and one of the developers was kind of chatting in the video, and kind of saying like, okay, well, we've taken your feedback and we've added this and we've done this and we've done this. And that's kind of the thing that made me think about this and want to talk about it a little bit more. Is that, when I was growing up, the games that we played were entirely developed by, professional game developers who would take a game regardless of what people thought. They didn't know if it was going to be successful, and they released it to the public, and that's what we've got. That's what we have. Now, if we were to go back to the 80s, let's say that the 80s was way more advanced than where it actually is, and that in the days of like Zelda and Mario and Sonic and all of those types of things, I know that they did a lot of focus groups back then, especially Sega with Sonic and things like that to try to rival Nintendo. But I'm thinking of like Mario characters and things like that where, would they even exist today if early access was a thing? Would people demand more from the developers? Would something about the developers' art be lost? Now, I know that a lot of people also carry the sentiment that, I'm just old-fashioned in my thinking and that, get with the times. That's how things are done now. But to me, even when I was a little kid, even before the games industry really was an industry, I always thought of video games as kind of an art form, Here I would be in the early 90s to mid-90s, sitting in my bedroom of my parents' house. I was just a little kid, of course. And I was programming video games, and I had friends of mine who would be working really hard at drawing and art and music and things like that. And that was always kind of their art form. And to me, video games were always my art form, my way of expressing my feelings, opinions, and talent. That was what I had. Some people had a pen and paper, and I had a programming console. That was what I had. It was my art form. I can't help but think and can't help but assume that, when you take an indie developer and you release your game in early access, that something has got to be lost in the development of the game that is a piece of yourself, is a piece of your art form. And the thing that kind of struck a chord was how... here's another example. There's another game called Orion Dino Horde, I think it's called. And I think that's what it's called. I could be wrong. But this game was released and was not very well received. Uh-oh, it's not doing very good. Publicly kind of bad. And the developers actually ended up re-releasing the game after basically working it from start to finish, reworking it from start to finish entirely. And they recreated their game because of public opinion. Now, the other thing was that snow game that I was talking about, the snowboarding simulator, the skiing simulator, whatever it is, where they're getting huge suggestions from players and putting every little bit into this game that they may not have thought about in the beginning. And I know, yeah, that has its benefits, certain features that really, really, really are necessary being added to the game is definitely a good thing. Where, everybody wants a certain way of scrolling and your game doesn't provide it, maybe with enough feedback you should add that certain way of scrolling, right? Absolutely. I think that's definitely a thing. But where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line and say, you know what? My vision for this game is this. And despite what people think, I don't want it to be like the way that they want it. I want it to be the way that I want it. And I think that kind of actually sets companies like Mojang apart when it comes to these early access projects, is that with Mojang, for example, a lot of the game was essentially, you know, this is a project that I don't care if it's successful or not. Let's just have fun developing it and playing it, and that's all there is to it. I think that a lot is actually lost in when developers go in and say, you know what, I just want a game that's successful. Well, how do I make it successful? I make it early access, ask what people want in the game, what features they want, and then add in every single feature they request. One game that I think has been extremely crippled by this is Beasts of Prey. Now, that one's very near and dear to me because I have it on my channel. I play Beasts of Prey on my channel with Code and Huck, and I know the developers, sort of. I've been in talks with just about every single person who's on their developer team. Right from the guy who created the project down to lowly guys who answer tech support. I've talked to basically all of them. And in talking with them, I've given so much feedback to like what I thought of certain features and what the game should be like, and they're obviously getting that kind of stuff from a lot of different people. And that's kind of the problem, because now you're faced with something where you've got so many different suggestions and feedback and people wanting certain things added. How do you possibly provide it to everybody? How do you make everyone happy? Well, it's just an impossibility. You can't. You can't make everyone happy. So what do you do instead? You do the best you can by adding in as many features as you can that people have requested over time, and just hope that, you know, it cuts it. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't cut it, unfortunately. It's sad when developers get caught in this idea that if they add in enough features that people request, it's going to be a successful game. It's almost a comedy at that point, because no matter how many features you add in, it'll start looking like a jumbled mess. There we go. That's looking actually kind of cool. I'm liking this. Let's put maybe just a few little random little fence pieces. Yeah. There we go. What do you guys think of that? It's just an idea I had. And then what I'm going to do is kind of branch off. I'm going to have little houses or fisheries or something. I'm going to have different buildings dotting the shoreline here all the way along it. Kind of like the outer courtyard of this place. I think that'll look really good. Yeah. Actually, I'm getting kind of far away with these cobblestone pieces here. Or am I? Maybe not. Actually, these should be more like this. Oops. There we go. And then these should be dug up. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so that's the problem that I think that a lot of developers face right now, is that they're adding in too many fan requests and they're not really focusing enough on what they feel would be a good game. Now, I look back to the days where the fans had zero input. And while obviously having that input does create some awesome experiences, I almost think that some of the things that made games iconic were the fact that this was a developer's art, that this was their form of expression, and we're appreciating it. You know, it's nothing to do with whether I like it or not. It's about, you know, this is the way that this guy wants it, and that's the way it is. It's almost like if you take music, for example, because music is an art, although it's not, you know, illustrative art. It's an art form, and it's all about expression. An artist, a musician, they go and they express themselves through their art form. And I think music has become part of a person's, like, their being. You can't tell a musician how they should sound. That would be right out completely wrong. And they would probably laugh in your face and say, like, give me a break. This is my art form. You're not going to tell me how to do it. I don't know why video games have kind of evaded this. It would be as if, like, if you got a guy writing a song, and while he's writing the song, he releases his very, very, very first cut to the public, and actually says to people, like, hey, you know, submit your lyrics, submit your notes, submit your ideas and concepts and what you think about that song to me, and I'll make the changes. And then when someone does, he goes and he makes the appropriate change, and then another person submits their ideas and he adds those changes, and then another person adds their, well, how about you add all these other instruments, and adds in those other instruments, and it goes on and on and on and on like that. I gotta find gravel right now. That's kind of why I'm bouncing back and forth. I gotta find some gravel. I had a lot, and then I lost it, so I'm actually just kind of looking for it. There's 2 little pieces. It would be ridiculous if you had a song that all of a sudden added in every single person's ideas and opinions of everyone who ever listened to this song. So how come it's normal for every single person who plays a game to have their ideas and opinions added to it? I think that everything within moderation is a good thing. So a developer, I think, needs to start to take back their creative controls. We need to almost, as a gamer group, go out there and say, you know what? Enough is enough. We can see past your ruse. We're not going to go and help you develop a game where every single thing that we want gets added to it. That just becomes a bad game. If a developer doesn't have the confidence to develop a game themselves, at least as a whole, or the concept or the idea of it, then why are we supporting those kinds of games? Now, going back to the Beasts of Prey as my bad example of a game that is kind of in developer hell, more or less. It's a game where, for example, the dinosaurs. The fact that this game is called Beasts of Prey, and they've almost entirely nerfed dinosaurs from the game. I at one point said to the developers, like, hey, I can't find any dinosaurs. Is this a normal thing? And they would give me some suggestions. I would try it. It wouldn't work. So they'd release an update, and it would say, okay, well, we now have dinosaurs. And then all of a sudden there's hundreds of dinosaurs around. Lots of them to see. And then in the next update, they'd release a new one and say, okay, well, because of user feedback, we've now very harshly nerfed dinosaurs again. So now they will only spawn in certain places. And then the people would say that, well, now those places are by my base. I built my base right on a place where the dinosaur spawns in, and now it keeps attacking me every time I log in. And so they nerfed it again, and they changed it again, and they changed it again, and they changed it again. To the point where, for someone like me, whose original hope was that I'd log into the game and at least be able to see a dinosaur and play with them and witness them. You know, it's completely been shattered by the fact that they just have way too many people who are all trying to develop a game, basically, is what it amounts to. A bunch of different people. People who aren't the game developers, what I mean. A bunch of different users who submit their ideas, their concepts as early access, and they're just taking all of them, throwing them in, because after all, you know, if people are suggesting these, then they must be wanted by all, you know? I think that it creates a big problem. And what we need to do is start looking for those games that are very highly developed to begin with, or at least the concept, the developers, you witness them putting their foot down and saying, you know what, my concept is to have a game like this, and that's that. You know, if the game is too hard for you, that's another thing too, is that I often see games where, for example, The Long Dark. That's another early access game, indie game. I love it. It's one of the best early access games, if not the best early access game that I've ever played. And I would definitely go on record to say that. It is definitely one of the best, if not the best. It's so fun and so detailed right from the beginning. But where they have a problem, I think, is that, again, they've been caught listening to user suggestions almost too much. So not only in the terms of like bug fixes, but when you start changing the way that a game looks, feels, acts, behaves, that's where I don't like it. I hope that's kind of what I've been describing, is that for early access, I think it's fair if a user input fixes a bug or adds a playability feature that, you know, if you find that the controls are completely unresponsive if in a certain thing and the developer fixes that, that's great. But when you say like, oh, the dangers of the world are too much for me and I'm dying too often, so please make it easier, and then the developer goes and they completely change the way the game plays and the way the enemies act because they want it to make it easier for players like you who didn't like their original concept of it. That's what kind of bothers me. Something about that I just don't like. I want to be able to play a game where if the developer made it really difficult, it should stay really difficult. Yeah, there we go. Chop. Let's just go in right here. I'm looking for gravel now again, if you didn't realize. But where do you draw the line? How do you draw the line? And how can we as gamers influence developers to stick with their artistic idea? Because even myself, like I was saying, I was giving feedback to the developers of Beasts of Prey. In fact, they were the ones who asked for it. Which I do respect. I love that about an indie developer who, you know, contacts me and says, "Hey, you're playing our game. Please give us feedback. Give us your opinion. What should we do? What should we change? What did you like? What did you hate?" And based on what I say, they change it and they evolve it and things like that. I'm guilty of doing that, just as much as everybody I'm ridiculing right now. But I think that we need to start drawing a line somewhere and saying like, okay, I'll give you my feedback, but, you know, I think you really should just keep developing the games the way that you want them developed. Why should that change? Because I don't like the way that, you know, a creature sounds or a way that something works. I may not like it. A lot of people may not like it. But if you, the developer, enjoy it, why should I have any bearing on that? Unless it's all about, you know, earning a profit. And that's kind of what I was hinting at before, is that, you know, Minecraft, guy didn't care about earning a profit, didn't want to get popular, didn't want to get famous. Obviously, it became ultra popular and famous, and well, you know. But where do you, as a developer, say, you know what? I don't care about the money. I just want to make a cool game. Those are the guys that I really appreciate. Those are the guys I really, really admire. Yikes. Oof. This is scary to walk around right now. Oh boy. Yikes. All to get gravel. Tiny little bit of gravel. There we go. So, I'm kind of interested in what your opinions are, because obviously there are tons of indie games out there, tons of which have early access. Some of them are really, really, really fun. Another early access game that I just started playing is called The Hunter Primal. And it's made by a game developer who I wouldn't call them indie. I would say that they're more just a smaller developer. And they already have success with their titles. So they don't need to really test them on players. And this indie game got released. And so far, they kind of can already see what the updates need to be. They already know, okay, well, this AI needs tweaking, and we are working on that. We just want you guys to find bugs, and our game is going to be true to the series, and that's that. I can't go and tell them, hey, by the way, I think that you should change these dinosaurs to be purple in color, and they're not going to change it. They're going to keep it the way that they want it, and that's... I respect that from a smaller developer, just like I would respect it from a developer who is an indie developer making their own game. I love it when it's an art form. That's all that I'm saying. But yeah, that's where I want your opinion is. You know, there are so many good little indie games out there that are all early access. What do you think about some of the games that are early access? Where can we draw the line? Because obviously I think there is a line that needs to be drawn. Where do we draw it? How do we draw that line? How do we tell developers, stay true to the art form? And if you're not staying true to the art form, should we call their bluff and say, well, you know, you're just adding every single feature that people request, or you're bending to players' will too much? We think that you're probably just in it for the profit. And although that's fine, you know, developers deserve to earn a living, do we draw the line and say, you should be having fun? Games should be about having an art form, not about making millions of dollars? I don't know. I think that music, for example, has had a lot longer to evolve. I used music as an example of something that musicians often don't want changed. I don't know if video games will get to that point. Or, interestingly enough, if music will get to that point. But, you know, it's come to the point where a musician just has to tell themselves that they aren't going to make millions of dollars. You know, I talked to my brother who has his degree in music, and he's been played on the radio. He's had his songs played on the radio and in different venues. He's performed concerts and things like that and had thousands of people go. He's doing very successful, moderately, for a local group. And, you know, you ask him what his opinion is, and his opinion will be, you know, you make music because you love making music. You don't make music just because some people have been successful and make millions doing it. You do it because you love it and because it's your art, not because it's something that you need to be successful. So I think what's going to ultimately happen is that eventually video games will evolve the same route and say, you know what, the market is now just way too saturated. We've got way too many people all developing games. All of them are early access. All of them are not being very successful. You know, where do we draw this line and finally admit, okay, well, you know what? We can't make games to make millions of dollars. We have to just be able to make games because we love making games. Some developers are on that page, but definitely not all of them. I think that in many respects, it's kind of similar to the YouTube argument where, you know, some people do YouTube videos because they enjoy making people happy. They enjoy entertaining people. They enjoy doing the video editing and doing that kind of thing. And there are those who do it because they think they're going to be famous or popular or get a lot of views. And I'm going to tell you right now which one I think that I would respect more. I think it's pretty obvious. I don't need to say it. But video games will come to that crashing point, unfortunately, where one day developers will look at the market and say, well, we can't just make a game where we ask someone what they want and we put it in and it's suddenly popular and amazing and makes millions of dollars. We just have to kind of come up with our own ideas, do the best that we can do, make a game that we love, and hey, maybe other people will love it too. So it kind of does reflect the YouTube video making process in a way, because a lot of people in the past have actually told me, like, or asked me rather, hey Poet, what do you do to find the good games to play? What do you do to find the games that you put on your channel? What do you do? What is there? And I always say, like, I just, from the very beginning, I do things that I enjoy. I play things that I enjoy. There's nothing else to it. Nothing at all else to it. That's it. If I enjoy it, it's going on my channel. If you happen to enjoy it too, that's a wonderful thing. I hope you enjoy the videos. And that's the way that I would love to see games developed again. Because I think that in the old days, although they were often created by what now are giant companies, they were small companies. Even game companies like Nintendo and Sega were babies because nobody wanted to buy a gaming console. Nobody wanted to buy a video game. Atari failed at doing that. Why would we want to? What's this little indie developer doing? Trying to release a Nintendo. What's a Nintendo? You know, they just released it anyway. They released their art form and people bought into it. I think that's how games should be developed today still. And that's my little discussion. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I ended up not really building much of anything. I just did this little path. But I think this is a huge start, to be honest. I'm still going to kind of massage it. The reason I got gravel is because I'm going to now put gravel in between here too. But I'll do that off camera. But yeah, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on the indie game development early access edition, where a little bit of the art form is lost. Or maybe your opinion is that, no, you know what, this makes games better. I'd love to hear examples too. So, with that, I think I'll end it there. Thank you guys for watching. Blah, 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 and do all those other awesome things that people do. And we'll see you next time on TimeShot. Bye-bye. Oh, there's one more thing that I wanted to do, which is really important. It's a donation that we got. So I'm going to have to handle that one right now before we completely end the episode. I'm just kind of going now. You can see kind of what the design I want to go with kind of looks like. There we go. That's looking pretty good. I don't want it to be completely solid. I want it to kind of look broken up, but a little bit more dense than the trails that are going outside of town. So if I go way outside of town, they're almost entirely gravel. Let's go here, right here. This is the trail that MK made, and it looks really nice. I think that it's very simple. I love it. Actually, that should be more like that, maybe. Yeah. I love it a lot. It's what I base all my little trails off of. And this one I wanted to be a little bit more dense, put in a lot more cobblestone because it's a lot more hard packed and walked. And then a lot more thick as far as like gravel goes and stuff. So I'm working on that right now. And you can kind of see the end result soon, I hope. Once I have the foundations of the other buildings down, then that'll be perfect. Okay, so I said that the episode was over, but no, it is not. I need to put up a donor sign type of thing for a certain person that I'll get to. This I'll just grab, I guess, and a stick for a sign. Now let's see, do I have the thing around here on my desk somewhere? As I walk towards this, I'm just going to toss around some stuff. I've got a whole bunch of stuff on my desk. It's so cluttered. I can't find it. But I know who it was who donated. So, and I know what was donated, so I can at least put that, and then I'll maybe update it as I go. As I go. Here we go. Nope. And a nope. Okay. So this one takes a gold block, and if we remember, gold block is for the $50 to $99 range, which is really super duper appreciated. 50% goes to charity. 50% of the value in this case, because this is in the Amazon donor room, which is where we are right now. Amazon donor room. And this one goes right here. And this one, let me just get a crafting table down. Make a big sign. Whoops. I always do that. I can maybe eventually use some wooden trapdoors so it's not so bad a loss, but I always do that. And this one is from Peeps. I'm pretty sure that he wanted it known as his username, but I don't remember the numbers that are at the end of his username. Peeps, and I always call him a bow spammer. In Mega Walls, he plays a lot of Mega Walls. In fact, I think it's on his Twitter page that he has. He even says, like, in his description, you may know me as someone who plays Mega Walls or something like that. So he plays it a lot. I always call him bow spammer. And he actually got me, it's one of the, it's amazing. I love it. TMNT comic books. So that is amazing. I have a special place in my heart for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic books. He got the Ultimate Edition number 5. I have number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now that is the last one. It completed my set. To a comic book collector, that is so important. That is so appreciated. So thank you very much, Peeps, for the donation. Like I said, 50% of the value, so $25, will be going to charity. It was around $25. Whatever the grand total of the book was, will go towards charity. So that's all that I had for today. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.